Hello y'all, and welcome to YoungFolkKnits. Today I'm going to share everything I finished knitting in 2024. Hello y'all, and welcome back to YoungFolkKnits. If you're new here, my name is Casey, and on this channel I share all about my love of fiber arts. So there's knitting, spinning, sewing, crochet, and who knows what else we might get up to around here. I also occasionally share about living on a small farm here in Arkansas. So if any of that sounds like it might be your cup of tea, then make sure and hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on any future video content. If I sound out of breath, that's because I just tried to haul a neatly folded pile of all of my knits I completed in 2024, and it almost did me in. It did not want to stay in a pile. It was very heavy, it was very hot, and I had to do a little bit of gymnastics trying to get it over here to my chair, and it is now no longer in a neat and orderly pile. That's okay though. We're gonna go through and chat briefly about all the projects I finished knitting in 2024. If you're tired of these videos, that's okay. I am too, but I do think it's a nice way for people to try out a YouTube channel and get a good sense of what someone's knitting style is and see if they would like to follow along on their knitting journey. First of all, I will not be going in order. Second of all, I've probably left a few things out because my organizational skills are subpar and some things were gifted. So I won't be including those. I also won't be including the mini items that I sewed. It will only be knitwear that I still have in my possession. I'm actually going to start off with what I'm wearing. This is the pohjola pullover, which is a design by Sari Nordland. Sari and I actually co-hosted a knit along for this sweater at the beginning of the year. And we both knit ours in Sonder Yarn Co. Sunday Morning 4-ply, which is a BFL and Masson mix. I absolutely love this yarn. It has proven to be one of my favorites time after time. I've used it in multiple designs, either the DK version or the 4-ply version, which is fingering weight, and I really love it. I did a few modifications with this pullover. Mainly, I did not sew down my collar. I think it looks nice and I have the option to do that at any point, but I'm lately really been loving a sort of mock neck collar, not a full turtleneck, but just I feel like it's very chic, the mock neck style with the circular yoke sweaters. I also did not include the color work on the sleeves, which the pattern does have an option for. I used 3 different colors. So my main color is Full English, and then I used Offline, which is a very natural grayy beige color, and I think that the blue green I used is Personal Space, but all of my information is on Ravelry, and that will be linked in the description with correct color names. This was a bit of a labor of love because it is quite an intricate color work chart. There is purling in color work with multiple strands. There's multiple rows of 3 colors knit at once, and because of that, it's not necessarily a potato chippy knit, a Netflix knit, but it was very enjoyable. I have found that stockinette is very boring to me now, and I really love a pattern that challenges my mind, involves concentration. Now I know there are times whenever a nice stockinette knit is all we can handle, but I found that I truly love the yokes in all of these sweaters, and once I get past the yoke, I lose a lot of motivation to finish it. So I was really glad that this was part of a knit along because it definitely gave me the push I needed to work on all the stockinette in the body, in the sleeves, and it might be the knit I'm most proud of from this year. I feel like it's a bit of a showstopper. It's beautiful, I like the colors, and that's all thanks to Sari's wonderful designs and Melissa from Saunders' beautiful sense of color when she dyes her yarn. So I am so happy that I was able to knit this. This yarn was gifted, but I purchase this yarn with my own money all the time, so I can definitely give you 2 thumbs up. Another knit that I finished this year was the Tessellated Cardigan. So this is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and I did test knit this, and I used the called for yarn, which is Spinster's Daughter, a sport weight yarn milled by Spin Cycle and dyed by Farmer's Daughter Fibers. And then you use 2 other colors. One, you can use the color shifting yarn from Spin Cycle, which is dyed in the wool. It's also a sport weight. And then you can use a Surrey, which I used Oh Dang from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. So you have these 3 different yarns, and it is an all over mosaic pattern. It does feel like it takes a bit to knit up. It's a bit of a slog, I would say, but it really isn't as bad as you might think it would be. The pattern is extremely easy to memorize. Knit flat, mosaic pattern. A bit of a slog, yes, but totally worth it. This is one of my most worn knits from this year. I've got a lot of use out of it, and I think that's mainly because of the colors that I chose. I absolutely love these. These are very much on brand for Casey, and I just feel like it goes with everything. It's also beautiful, and it's not something I can buy in the store. So the fit is great. I love everything about it. This was a 10 out of 10 for me. The process was not as much fun, but for sure a product knit that I love. Another knit I completed this year was the Felix Pullover. This was knit up in a very quick time frame, so it was just a great little palette cleanser. I love the Felix Pullover and the Felix Cardigan. This is a pattern designed by Amy Christophers, and she is a fabulous designer as well. I love everything that she makes, but this is such a classic, simple design. The raglan increases are knit with beautiful lacy stitches. It has some great short row shaping built into the neck so that the front sets lower than the back. All of this makes for a beautiful fit. I think raglans tend to fit me better than circular yoke sweaters, and so because of all this ended up being a great knit. I chose to not knit it extremely long because I wanted to wear it with high-waisted pants, high-waisted skirts, and with dresses. It did end up being a little bit longer than I wanted for dresses with an empire waist. I feel like I should have knit this about 1.5 inches shorter if I really wanted that cropped look for dresses, and it did grow quite a bit with blocking, so because of that it ended up being the perfect knit for high-waisted jeans, pants, and skirts. This yarn was gifted to me from Knitting Fever, and I absolutely love this Noro Madara. This was my second knit with Noro Madara. I will show you my first one. My first knit using Noro Madara was the Step by Step Cardigan. So this was a pattern I test knit for Handmade by Florence, and this is such a little treasure. You can actually receive this pattern for free if you follow the link on Ravelry from Handmade by Florence, and it's a great raglan simple cardigan that comes with an instructional YouTube video. So if you're a new knitter, if there's someone that is in your family or friend circle that would like to learn how to knit, this is a great first garment to do that with because she walks you through it. I also really like the fit. I have lost weight since I made this, so it's definitely oversized. I think I will continue to wear this though as an oversized sweater, and I do a French tuck into my pants and it looks pretty good that way. But otherwise I would probably reclaim the yarn and possibly knit the exact same thing just in a smaller size. But it's nice to have a few oversized things, and I think that this is a sweater that lends itself to a nice fit oversized. Also, as you will see, I really don't have pilling yet on either of these. Now, I did make these in warm, I think it was March by the time I finished this, and I knit this in the summer. So I haven't worn these a lot yet, but now that it is winter, I am wearing them, and so far so good. I will keep you updated on that though. Another test knit that I did was for Andrea Mowry, and it was this year's 2024 Rhinebeck sweater. So this is the framed sweater, and it is an all over color work drop shoulder design. It has some nice shoulder shaping that is included in the ribbing, and I love that instead of having to do the shoulder shaping in pattern for the color work, this is so much easier, and it looks great too, so I think that's a really nice design aspect. It also has neck shaping so that the front sits lower than the back. It is an oversized design with bracelet length sleeves, no decreases on the sleeves, so they're a bit fuller, and it has a cropped look with some pretty wide ribbing on the bottom. I did increase the length of my ribbing at the hem of my sweater, and I think it looks really nice. I love a big long ribbing. So this is knit in the new collaboration between Spin Cycle and Farmer's Daughter Fibers, and it's called Spencer's Daughter Worsted, I believe. So that is the main color, the cream color, and then I used Dream State for my contrast color in Absolute Zero, and then Spencer's Daughter Worsted for the contrast color here and the hems. That might be actually considered the main color, I can't remember. This is so heavy, it's so warm. I mean, I love how fast a worsted weight sweater knits up, but this is not only worsted weight, it's a super wash worsted weight that is color work all over. So when you look at the inside of this sweater, I mean, it's like double worsted weight. It's so warm. When I took this, when I took pictures for this in like July, I think is when we finished it, I thought I was gonna die. It was so hot, but if you live in a really cold climate, then this would be a lovely warm knit. All honesty, I just haven't got that much use out of it because it's such a heavy sweater, but I think I'm finally hitting that time of year where I can wear it, so I need to do it now that it's January and February. That'll be my main 2 months of the year that I can wear it here at home. Okay, my second most favorite sweaters, I don't know. This one is the sweater I'm probably most proud of. This sweater I probably have actually worn the absolute most and has been very easy to style, is the Celeste sweater from Petite Knit. This was such a fun project. I did do an oversized version, and while the pattern calls for Peer Gynt, I ended up knitting mine in Sandnes Garn Double Sunday. For the color work portion, I used a mixture of single skeins of Double Sunday and Peer Gynt, and they blended beautifully together in the color work. I did not fold the neck over, and because this is a circular yoke that stretches quite a bit whenever you start the ribbing, it doesn't come up very high. It comes up less, even less than this one does, and I love how it turned out. It's so soft. The Double Sunday is lovely, and it feels great next to skin. Absolutely would love to make another one of these, but I have fallen in love with Double Sunday and I've continued to use it. This has been such a great knit, and the color work is very easy, so I think that this would be a great first color work sweater project. Next up was a test knit I did for Alicia Plummer. This is the Aperture sweater, and this was knit in Noro Madara as well. Actually, this might have been the first project I did with Noro Madara, not the step-by-step cardigan. Yeah, I think this was the first one that I did. So this is a raglan sweater, and Alicia designed it to be a little bit more cropped, and I ended up mentally wanting a huge oversized long sweater to wear with leggings and my duck boots. I don't know, I had a vibe I was going for. Definitely granola girl. And I went a little too far. It ended up growing so much because the sweater was so much heavier than my swatch was. It was so long, it pulled so much while it was wet, and I needed to do sweater surgery. So after I finished this, I ended up removing about 2 inches from the body, and I have a smaller circumference now, and I feel like I could remove another inch from the body. I still love it though. It definitely has those big cozy vibes, and I love the yarn. It's knit at a gauge that has some breathability, and I have just been thrilled with this sweater. It's so comfortable. There's still not really much pilling that I see, and it's a really fun yarn. The color depth with this yarn is very special. Would I use this yarn for everything? Absolutely not. It's a singles yarn. It's not the strongest, but for the right project, this is such a special knit. So I would, you know, I would recommend one project in your life with Nora Madara. I think it's a really lovely yarn to try. Another sweater I finished right at the end of the year in December was the Lumme. Now, which is the front and which is the back? That's tough because this one does not have short row shaping at the neck. So here's my Lumme sweater. This is a pattern by Sari Nordland, and I was craving some color work. This is one of those patterns that had to grow on me when it was first released. I could take it or leave it. I wasn't a huge fan, crazy wild about it, but the more I saw them knit up, the more I loved it. It continued to grow on me until one day I was just like, I've got to have a Lumme and I need one now. So I actually cast on with some Isire Alpaca 3, and this is a chainette yarn, and it ended up being very, very warm. So I used the oatmeal color and the gingerbread color, I believe. The colors I could not be happier with. I did include the color work section on the sleeves. That was one of the things that I loved about the pattern, actually. So I for sure wanted to include it on my version. I did the folded collar. I wasn't sure if I was gonna leave it or fold it down, but after I finished it, I polled some of my friends and myself. I polled myself comfort-wise. We decided that it needed to be sewn down, and I am very happy with it. It is a very warm sweater, and it has a, you know, so much alpaca in it that it is a bit, I feel it. Is it scratchy? I don't know, but I do feel it, and you can just see the halo. So yes, very much a warm winter sweater, but wow, isn't it pretty? I just absolutely love it. Sari is the bomb. Another sweater I finished up right at the end and as part of the YFK Mosaic Mayhem knit along that I hosted is the Paulie cardigan. So this is a sweater designed by Amy Christophers, and it has a beautiful quilt star motif, which is on the back, it's on both panels of the front, and it's on the sleeves. It's an all over mosaic pattern, and I knit mine using North Bay fiber, their Heritage DK, which is a lovely yarn. I find it very similar to Brooklyn Tweed Shelter, and it's just a joy to work with. It is something you feel like you've just gone out and sheared a sheep, the softest sheep that you could find, and it's this woolly, close to nature yarn that I absolutely love. It was gifted to me for the knit along, but I actually bought some more because I love it so much. So highly recommend this yarn. Now do keep in mind it is a non-superwash. It is a not a worsted, it is a woolen spun yarn, so you need to choose the right project. But wow, is it lovely. It's so lovely, and it's so warm. It is mosaic, so you can see on the inside, double layer of all that yarn. But I have decided I am going to be adding snaps to this instead of buttons. So I got my snaps in. They are gold magnetic snaps. You won't be able to see them on the outside. They're sewn onto the inside of the double knit button band, and I am very excited to get those attached. I've been wearing it without them attached, and I love it. It's totally fine that way, but I think it will be nice. And I actually think it will look pretty good because you can see it whenever the cardigan kind of pulls open, so you'll still be able to see the snaps on the inside, and I think that's going to be really nice. I'll share more about this on my next podcast episode with a little bit more in-depth look into all the details about it. Okay, some non-sweater tops. The first one is the Hey sailor top, which I test knit for Andrea Mowry. This is an all over mosaic knitting pattern, and it is knit up using Knitting for Olive cotton. Wow, I love the yarn. I fell in love with the yarn while knitting this top, and I would like to knit all of my summer knits with it. It's just so lovely. In fact, I started a Farnham tee with 2 colors of Knitting for Olive cotton, and it's just such a great fingering weight breathable yarn. Now, it is a mix of merino and cotton, so it's not as hard on your hands as using 100% cotton, and it feels a little bit nicer because of that wool content with it. So absolutely love this. I think it turned out great. I wore it quite a bit this summer, and I will absolutely wear it this year. I got some buttons from Textile Garden that I fell in love with, and I was so pleased with it. This is a bit of a boat neck, so sometimes I have to be careful about keeping my bra straps right where they need to be. But overall, so pleased with this. It is knit flat. You do have to pick up the button band, and if you knit to a different length than the pattern calls for, you will have to be comfortable with adjusting where you place your buttonholes. So that is something to keep in mind, but I am so happy with this, and this is a test knit that I'm so happy that I completed. I love it. Another test knit I did was for Sorry Nordland, and this is the Colette top. It's not the Colette tee. I think it's called the Colette top. So I knit this in Cozy Posy Yarn Co. Lush Lino DK, and talk about an amazing base. The linen content in it is absolutely, it's just so good. I love this color, and I was so pleased with how this turned out. The cables in it have that distinctive pattern, which are in all of the Colette series. So there's a sweater, there's a tee, and then there's this top. Had to be careful. My bra straps do show a bit. So there's that. And these eyelets are rather big. And I did notice that, I don't know, I felt like you could kind of see my bra through it. So, you know, there's a few things that, I don't know. Sometimes I have to choose when to wear this and when not to. But overall, I love this. I love the design. I love the cables. And I love the yarn. So this turned out really nicely. And I ended up wearing it a lot because, honestly, if you're gonna wear knits in the summer, they do probably need to be sleeveless. So this turned out really good. Oh, and I did not do a double knit button band for, not button band. I did a double knit collar, which the pattern calls for. However, I did not do that on the armholes. Instead, I went down to a very small needle and I knit stockinette to double the distance I wanted for my sleeves, my armholes, my, I'm having a brain freeze. Anyway, I doubled that, folded it over, and sewed it down, and what a neat, clean finish. I am thrilled with that. Another summer test knit I did was this beautiful top by Kadri. This was such a fun knit, and the pattern is actually very easy and very simple. The front and the back are exactly the same. There is no short row shaping, and it is a boat neck style top. So I use the Pasquale yarn. I'll put the name on the screen because I cannot remember what this yarn was called, but it is a really nice summer yarn. I really appreciate the linen content in it, and I think that it has some great stitch definition. So even though this is a solid and it just has a very simple texture pattern with those purl rows, due to the yarn stitch definition, you can really see the texture, and I find that those end up being some of my favorite knits. The straps are very small, so again, I do feel like sometimes I would rather wear this under a long sleeve button-up shirt that I roll the sleeves up on, and it's almost like a cami that I wear underneath. But that's only because my bosoms require a non-strapless bra and I just can't go without a bra or non-strapless when I'm out in public. So there you go. All right, last garment I have to share is this test knit for Bethany Lynn Makes. This was the Agnes Sweater vest, and this was a fun one. So it is crocheted by crocheting granny squares and then adding some rows where you need to, depending on what size you are, to create the correct width. And then you knit the collar, the armholes, and the hem ribbing. So this was really fun. I used Biche et Bouche Les Lambs wool, which is a DK weight wool, non-superwash. One of my favorite yarns. I really enjoyed making this. I loved the colors, and I mean, you gotta love a granny square. Granny squares are so fun, and this was a lot of fun. Okay, I hope we're moving along pretty well. I'm trying not to drag us down with too many details. Next up, I have a shawl that I started a while back, and I finally finished it this year, and it is the pressed flower shawl. I love this so much. I just love it so much. I don't know what else to say about it, except it's one of my favorite things I've ever made. It's just so beautiful, and I am addicted to the pressed flowers motif. I'm actually going to continue my goal I had for last year of spinning for a pressed flowers cardigan. So hopefully I will accomplish that. The yarn, I think, is beautiful. I will put that on the screen. I cannot remember the name of the yarn now. I just followed the pattern. I didn't do anything special. I just followed the pattern, and I feel like it came out absolutely perfectly. I ran out of yarn on the bind off. So it's a very long bind off. You have the entire edge here. And I ran out of yarn halfway through the bind off. So thankfully I had some yarn in my stash, which was a similar color, and I was able to use that to bind off the rest of it, and I don't feel like you can tell at all. Next up, I knit these Alma Mittens, and I used Pearl Soho's Daily Wool, I believe it's called. So it's their new worsted weight superwash wool, and it's so soft, so lovely. These turned out too big. I may end up gifting these. I don't actually have very big hands, and the superwash wool made them grow quite a bit. So I've considered trying to felt them, but because it's superwash wool, probably just will not be possible. I may give it a shot just to see if there's any chance they might slightly felt. I really don't think they will though. So I'll probably give them to a friend and make another pair because they're just so pretty. But they were super fun to knit, very easy to knit, and they are a quick pattern because they're worsted weight. Okay, I'm gonna have to buzz through the last a bit because my dad just drove up and walked in. So yeah, I need to hurry up really quickly. This I test knit for Samantha Guerin. This was the Grid Gambit cowl. Oh my gosh, do I love it, love it, love it. So I knit this using Newburgh Yarn Co. Adirondack Haze for my main color, and then I used my hand spun from Hello Yarn in a one-off colorway. I don't know the name of it. I think it might have been called Cold Comfort. It is a dream, and I love it. I think it turned out so nicely. My hand spun was definitely more of a fingering weight instead of a sport weight, but I'm such a loose knitter, I was able to meet gauge just fine. So I think it turned out great. I'm thrilled with it. I'm gonna make another one for sure. I also knit the Maxine hot water bottle cover. This was made using Ruby and Rose's new non-superwash wool, and I enjoyed every second of knitting with that yarn. This was a fun color work project. I think it only took me like 2 days to knit up, and this pattern also comes in a smaller size. So I think that would be a great gift knit. I would like to knit my mom one because I can't part with this one, but I would like to knit my mom the smaller one. I think that it would be nice and portable, and I think she would use it, and it would be a great way to use up some scraps. So I was thinking maybe even making her a smaller one of these and some socks and giving that as a gift to her. Next up, I tested this traveler hat for Andrea Mowry. It is a fun DK weight hat, simple knit and purl stitches and decreases, and I knit mine up using Pishkin DK from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers in Daddy State of Mind. Super fun color. The hat, I have a little bit of trouble figuring out which is the best way to wear it, because you can see it has these decreases all the way around, and I feel like I have a little bit of trouble figuring out the perfect way to wear this on my head. I always feel like I look weird in hats if they have much of anything at the crown, but I like it enough and I like the color and texture enough that I still try to wear it, especially because I love the yarn. It feels so nice on my head. I also test knit this plumped up Harlow. So this is the bulky weight Harlow hat from Andrea Mowry. It's an all over brioche pattern, and I knit mine up using Dream State, nope, not Dream State, Plumpy, which is the bulky weight spin cycle color shifting yarn, and the color Ghost Ranch, and I held that with solid color in the bulky weight squish yarn from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. So this is a pretty big hat. I feel like I actually knit it slightly too big, but it's just nice and comfy and warm. So yeah, does not keep me from wearing it. I also tested the Melt Shawl from Andrea Mowry. So this is a fun one. It is a DK weight gauge, and it has little small sections of brioche. It has striping and it has lace. So a little bit of everything. That lace border is so fun. I really like that. There's so many DK weight superwash yarn options that you can get fun colors in. Honestly, I think I might end up gifting this to my mom because I feel like these are really her colors, and I feel like she would look beautiful in this kind of teal blue. So if she likes this, I'm actually going to be gifting this to her. I think that she will wear it a lot more than I do. She has really pretty blonde hair, and I think this would look really nice on her. So that's the plan for that shawl. Last up, I want to share my very first pattern release, which I had this year, and it is the Party Line scarf. I can't thank you all enough for the support that you have shown to it. You've all been so generous by either looking at the pattern on Ravelry or purchasing it and knitting it, and it has just meant so much to me. It has brought me so much joy seeing all of your projects on Instagram or on Ravelry, and I thought this was a fun little knit. So it's very quick, it's very easy, and it's got garter, it's got eyelet rows. It has these two little lines of eyelets, and my husband grew up with a Party Line, and he had one for a very long time actually. You know, we live out in the middle of nowhere, and whenever I was knitting this up with those two fun little lines and I was thinking about wearing this to a party, I thought, I'm gonna name this the Party Line scarf. It looks very vintage, and I thought that the name fit the bill. So I knit mine using the Craft Me Not Yarn Co. Silky Sport. So since it is knit with a sport weight yarn, you can actually get gauge using either fingering or DK. And I love the variability that you have there. You are really fine using any of the three of those yarn weights. I have designed quite a few other little patterns, but I get overwhelmed very easily, and releasing more patterns has felt slightly overwhelming. Maybe this year there will be a few more additions to my pattern page, but we will see what happens. Thank you all so much for having followed along with me this year. And if you're new here, maybe you saw a pattern or two that you liked. I have also got so much inspiration from all of you Thank you. Please let me know in the comments what your favorite make from this past year was. I think that would be really interesting to hear what everyone's favorite make from this past year was. Don't forget, if you enjoy videos like this, hit that like button and make sure and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future video content. Thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. And until next time, happy knitting, y'all.